right. We're here. It's live from the sewers. We're in the fucking sewers. That's where I'm in right now.
So I got some fancy equipment in my section of the sewer. So
I
sponsored by Roland.
so this
So,
episode is sponsored by Roland. I'll give you. Oh, I can't think of. I was like, I was thinking of a stupid code joke, but I couldn't think of one. Here's your code. It's 42069 to get a discount. Nice
you get free
sponsor.
shipping anywhere into the world from Roland. Please don't try that. Like they did not sponsor us.
Exactly. So yeah. So this week, this podcast isn't a week. This isn't weekly. We got a very special album to be sharing because it is one of my all-time favorites, and I think it's a great introduction to French industrial. I'm just really excited to share this album with everyone. But before we get into it, there's a few things we're gonna bring up. Well, first of all, introductions. It is I, this machine kills music. I don't know who this other sewer dweller is, who they are. So who are they?
I go by many monikers and titles, but y'all can call me Noeyesfiend or No Eyes Fiend. I am the co-host, the other scallywag of the sewers. Here to introduce you to some hidden gems in industrial and noise music. I make industrial noise hardcore-ish music for, people that like existential nightmares and to lift weights. So, yeah.
For the creeps in the club.
Yeah, the jacked creeps in the club.
Yeah, your your local trip paint wear under the bridge dancing. The sticks.
The grandchildren of Big Daddy Trot. So,
Yeah. Yes. Um, but most importantly, you have a new project out, don't you?
oh, I didn't realize I was gonna do a plug. Yes,
Yes.
September 2nd, if this video is up before September 2nd,
It
I've
should
got
be,
a
yes.
okay. I've got a limited run shirt in the merch section of my Bandcamp, which will get linked in the doobly
Yeah.
doo. But the shirt's gonna be one run. I'm gonna print, like certificates off saying this is number X of X amount. The reason being just because finding someone willing to run it is a lot harder than I thought. After that, I'll have normal shirts, but my main project, the one I've been on and off for the last year or so, is I've got a new album called "On Assault on Reality" coming out. I've got one preview track up right now, and it's my opener, so it gives you a taste of like everything that's in the album, which is noise, pounding beats, glitch, just all the oh, and weird ass sampled voices. So yeah, all the fun stuff is in my opener and gives you a nice taste of the album. So yeah, that's on my Bandcamp. I'm gonna have a couple visualizers eventually, and I'm confident in saying now I've got a handful of remixes that are coming for one of the other singles. So hopefully I can get those out ahead of the album, but if not, I'll put those out shortly after the album. One of them by fucking Uteroza
That's cool.
or UG20, yeah, from Japan, which I'm really
Very
excited
cool.
to hear. Rot Fox, MGC from our server, which I'm not sure of his artist name right now, and Chaos Doll. So, yeah, all exciting stuff, all happening before September 2nd. So, yeah, just click the links, go find that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. The shirt is wicked cool. It's definitely for appreciators of the more disturbing, maybe some. Yeah. Yeah, I don't care. You can show. Look at that.
This is a prototype. It was a one off. So
Yeah. But I think it's wicked cool, and then the music slaps. It's kind of music that makes you want to unlock the chastity belt of your mind. But It's
This is the best compliment I've ever been paid.
for the girl freaks out there, the real ones know. So yeah, check it out. I'll link everything down below. And then yeah, before we get into it, let's talk about some albums we've been enjoying that we just want people to check out a bit. We only suggest good stuff that's 100% amazing that everybody will always like. So yeah, I have two, you have three, so you can go first. Make it clean.
All right. So first one is very short and sweet. So there's a Japanese hardcore or splittercore, depending on your definitions, band called Koakira. He just released the Outlaw EP, I think last month or in June, one of the two. But brand new. It's 3 tracks. They go hard. He fuses metal, speedcore, and like honky tonk in one of them, so in one of the songs. So
Honky
yeah,
tonk.
it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I know. Wouldn't think it'd work, but he makes it work. So yeah, it hits hard, it hits fast, it's nice and short, less than 15 minutes, I think, for the entire thing. So mwah, great little addition to your playlist.
I feel like good like grindcore speedcore albums are usually like under 20 minutes. I think all my favorites, so that's usually a good sign. I think.
Oh yeah.
uh, yeah. All right. So what was the name of the album again? One more time.
The Outlaw EP by Koakira.
All right. So then after that, my first album I listen to a lot. Maybe possible video. I'm currently talking maybe to one of the artists to get information, but this is Ontario Hospital, and this is the live recordings. Um,
Yeah.
so Ontario Hospital or OH No Contact. Sometimes it's stylized to O/H. Um, they are ex members of like Orphix, which they also sent me an Orphix tape too, even though I only bought the Ontario Hospital, which is cool. And
Oh.
I talked about them in my rhythmic noise, and Ontario Hospital is like one of the best rhythmic noise like heavy techno power electronics projects I've listened to. They just go fucking hard. These live tracks are like they're different from the studio ones. There's a few extra new tracks I haven't heard, and it should be illegal for how hard this fucking goes, dude. It's just nuts. Like if you like really heavy, hard rhythmic noise, booming bass, like I said, like power electronic vocals, OH is where it's at. But the thing that's special about them too is that unlike a lot of power electronics projects, their main topic isn't like abuse and all that stuff. It's about being anti-consumerist and like the anti just workforce and how it ruins people. Like it's just it's just funny. They take on the persona of like a mindless consumer, and like there's tracks like called Market Values, and there's a whole track about talking about well, you have to always carry a balance on you and cash is king. Like just hearing that kind of lyrics and like power electronic voice is really, it's a really good topic, really interesting, especially for the genre.
And we always have to mention Throbbing Gristle and stuff. I listened to part of that album earlier, and yeah, the first handful of tracks at least, it feels like Throbbing Gristle smashed together with the Aphex Twin. It's
Yeah.
got the the beat of
Shit's all
one.
live. I can't imagine being a live show like that, man.
Oh, dude, the energy for that is just unreal. So,
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that's Ontario Hospital. No contact. If you just look up Ontario Hospital Bandcamp, it's like the first link. So, what's your next one?
so my number two, speaking of live and everything, I actually only know of this artist because I saw them opening for Boy Harsher.
Oh, nice.
Uh, so my second album is Silver Coat the Throng by Hiro Kone, and I'm gonna just use they them pronouns because I'm not certain of this individual's preference, but they have fucking amazing sound. I was skeptical standing there. The set was pulled mostly from this album, and I was skeptical standing there for the first like 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It was very uh, like very thin sound. They were playing around with the modular setup and everything, and then they just I don't know, they cut everything and then they blasted the whole
Switch
crowd
gear.
with bass. Yeah, just oh.
Man.
um, and from like that moment on, I was hooked. I actually bought this album on vinyl, even though I said I wasn't going to buy vinyl
Uh,
anymore. Because I was like, I want to support you.
yeah.
So,
No, that's
um,
awesome.
yeah, it's a nice mix of strange bleep bloops and deep like heavy bass with a little bit of, driving drums. It's much more low key than the Outlaw EP. So definitely, if you just like experimental electronic music and experimental in the sense of like there's not necessarily a cohesive strong song structure of A B B C,
Yeah.
then yeah, this is definitely for you.
So it's kind
It
of like a
leads into
mix.
Yeah, it leads into great ambient areas, and then it just pulls you right back with like a driving primal beat, and then lets you wander back out into the mist. It's so relaxing.
Good, I like that. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Because I like electronic, and I've been a lot of. I've discovered quite a few good bands as openers. Especially
Oh yeah.
electronic shows. So yeah, that's cool. So we will check that out. What's the title again?
Silvercoat the Throng by Hiro Kone.
Hiro Kone.
Yeah, I'm probably butchering it, but yeah.
well, we're gonna be butchering a lot. At least I am in
Oh
this
yeah.
video. And then my second one is Adam BFD with the Rose EP. So Adam BFD, I only just recently discovered him, and I believe he's French, and he is like a ambient dub techno artist, kind of experimental techno-ish. I'm not just quite sure how to describe it because I had posted his track on our techno on Reddit, and he commented himself saying that it wasn't techno, but he appreciated the post. But I mean,
Damn.
talked to him a little bit. He's super nice, but so you might. I'm not sure exactly what he prefers it, but it is kind of like ambient dubbish techno, very pleasant, like really nice. He's been really like he's had like two EPs this year, and they're incredible. Everything I've heard from him, like last year, if I had heard the Embrace EP, that probably would have been like my top three easily. His stuff is great. If you like stuff off of Cream Organization or Lobster Theremin, which I think one of his releases on there, then I would definitely check him out because he has not missed. All his tracks are just it's just exactly what you want to hear. Even the title track, the Rose, is just like it's just so good. It's like melancholic and driving and great and just you're like, where do they come up with these sounds, these rhythms, these produce like these DJs are crazy, man. But yeah, good EP. Adam BFD Rose EP. And what's your
Yeah,
last one?
that's Oh, I
Oh,
was just
so
gonna say I listened to the a little bit of that yesterday, I believe it was, and yeah, all killer, no filler.
yeah,
It's just yeah, wonderful
good
techno.
good driving
Yeah,
music.
wonderful not
Yeah.
techno. So,
I never asked him what he said it should be. I should have, but I wasn't thinking.
okay, so for my last one, this is that mid-range between the Outlaw EP and Silvercoat the Throng. My last one is Sci-Fi Sky by Lebanon Hanover. Again, trying to keep up with like newer things is right on the edge of cutoff for my like 2-year rule for
Yeah.
recommending stuff, as this came out in October of 2020, I believe. But if you don't know Lebanon Hanover, what are you doing with yourself? Because like they're the sister band in my head, anyways. They're the sister band of like Soviet and Chelsea Wolfe and Boy Harsher. Like they just hit that perfect goth sound of like echoey vocals, not too high pitched or whiny. And then they reference The Cure in the opening track of this album. So
Of
it's like,
course.
oh, and deep bass, obviously.
Nice.
I feel like this album is both like a good reading album because you just put it on and let it, entrance you into your book, and it's also a good sleeping album because
Nice.
like the deep bass tones just lull you in, and then she's singing about you know goth problems. so,
Goth,
so
yeah.
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 But
I've noticed like since we've hit 2020, we've had like a really high quality resurgence of like modern post punk, like
oh yeah,
goth music. I always call it post punk, whatever.
you're good.
uh, which I don't personally listen to like too often, just because I'm always like electronic head. But like I love stuff like Susie and the Banshees and all that, and Chelsea Wolfe. Um, Actually, probably. I mean, I don't know if she's really post punk, but I like stuff like Bat for Lashes. Like when you find like, and she makes some gothy type music too. So, it's like, but there's just been like the past like 2 years, like we just had this total, just kind of booming of all these groups, really, which is good.
Uh, it's almost like there was some major
Uh,
event that made people think of death and gloominess.
yeah,
I don't know what it could be.
exactly. So yeah, that sounds really good. What was the title again?
Sci-Fi Sky by Lebanon Hanover.
Sci-fi. That's a good title. I mean, yeah. All right. So that's out of the way. Let's get into it. So yeah, this episode we're gonna be talking about my personal introduction to French industrial and one of my favorites. I was blown away immediately. It's probably in my top five easily. So when people ask me like what are one of my favorite industrial albums or like what's like a really good heavy one like beyond something like the known ones like SBK and all that, I will suggest this album. This is one of my go-to's. And yeah, and we're talking about La Nomenclature and the album. So this is a French group, so I can't pronounce French. So this is La Légende des Voix, which is apparently Legend of the Voices, Legend of the Voice. It translates to, and you see the funky packaging. We'll get to that, but this is the original tape off of the label, which is what is it? I have it written down. Yeah, I'm surprised it's not on here. It's a French one, and it is Les Nouvelles Propagandas, which is like the new propaganda, which is a good label name. Uh, yeah, this is just like a killer album. This is like music concrete style, industrial, power electronic vocals, heavy filters, manipulation, total just like assaulting, like I don't know, sound. It's but extremely rhythmic too, which was kind of their goal. So this band, La Nomenclature, which sometimes I guess now they go by like NKT. So if you see like abbreviation NKT, that's what they abbreviate themselves to. It's the same band. Um, so I had contacted a few months ago a man called Jean-Yves, who I guess was like the sound designer for the group, or he worked with the guy in La Nomenclature, and he would set up stuff for like the sets and help him with sound and perform on stage. And the good this like I guess it's a one I think it's a one person group, La Nomenclature. It started for let me think. I can't think of his name right now. Good thing I have notes. It's been a long day at work. It's tough working in the medical field. I think his name is like Tiberk or something like that. Yeah, Tiberk.
Yeah, Tibber.
Tiberk is like
I, I
he's the main guy that's behind it, and he used to have a group called Minamata, and then he wanted to do something a bit more than Minamata. He wanted to do like a solo thing where he could focus on what he wanted to do. So he released this album in 1986 after he became friends with John Eves, or Jean Eves.
Jean
Jean
Yves.
Eves. Jean.
It's the blind leading blind. I took like one semester of French 15 years ago or something.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well, I say Jean Rollin, so I'm gonna say Jean. I'm gonna say Jean-Yves. I'm sorry, Jean. I'm
there you
probably gonna. I'm
go.
gonna send you this video and you're gonna get mad. um,
I feel like it's horrible, but it's okay.
but yeah, they had. I think they were both like radio DJs or something like that, and they had become friends. And Jean helped him with his sound and just performing and doing the crazy stuff that they got going on here. One of the one of the big influences of this group is actually Front 242. They wanted to do like a rhythmic sound and like the style of it. It's not like Front 22. It's very much old school industrial, which they also wanted to do. So it's very raw and heavy and very noisy. Um, some tracks, which we'll get to, kind of even border on noise. There's a few tracks in the end of the album that have like almost like noise wall going on. So it's pretty heavy, but it is very rhythmic. This is definitely some rhythmic noise, which would make sense too because in 1994, I believe, or 1995, Aunt Zen actually re-released this album on CD, which is actually the album cover that you'll see in the thumbnail because there's actually not a good high-res version of the tape one, which is a very cool picture. Um,
You should definitely find a book scanner and scan that tape.
yeah, I don't know what's going. I don't know what's going on really with the Aunt Zen one. It's very like late 90s looking
Yeah.
industrial
Oh,
cover, which it's very unassuming. If you saw this at a CD store, like you probably wouldn't, you'd probably overlook it if you didn't see it was like on Aunt Zen, and
I
it's a very
I
incredible
actually
album.
so like ooh, not 20, let's say like 16, 17 years ago, I remember being in a CD store and I actually went back to see if they still had it. And yes, it's so unassuming that 13-year-old me, I did, it's still sitting at the CD store. I bought it, now, but
Oh
it
really?
was still, yeah,
Oh
so I have
wow.
the CD. I put it in my collection already, so I can't go grab it very quickly, but yeah, it's a very unassuming album cover, and it's like a low res, high
Yeah.
polygon, like pirated Photoshop
Yes.
1991. um, Finest PlayStation 1 graphics.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't know
that
what
Aunt Zen can muster.
I don't know what Aunt Zen's was thinking with that one. Also, too, I was thinking it made sense that Aunt Zen reissued it real quick. That Aunt Zen is a German label that's very well known for putting out probably the best rhythmic noise. They kind of have like I'd say for me the monopoly on like rhythmic noise stuff. um, so if you go to see any of their albums or label or Bandcamp, you kind of know what you're in for. It's good. It's gonna be very heavy and pounding and loud, but very rhythmic. It's
Oh
almost
yeah.
some of their stuff's almost like borderline aggro without like the aggro vocals. Like it's pretty crazy.
I feel like it wouldn't be too far to call it like tribal, a
Yeah,
lot of their stuff.
yeah.
So
Uh, you know what else? Oh, also Jean-Yves also has his own project, which is on. He runs the label. Uh, the Nouvelles Propagandas, and he has a project called Sense de Solitude, which I have. I just wanted to show these off. Oh, where's this other one? I actually bought.
reorganize the collection.
I bought a whole. Oh, I have the first. Actually, I have the first Aminamata album too.
Oh shit.
I bought pretty much everything he had on Discogs, which I can link the Discogs down below too. It's worth. He still is in charge of it, so he's still like selling the stuff and trying to make money and do all that. And I think he told me that he's trying to get all the older stuff slowly up on Bandcamp too. So
Oh, that's awesome.
you can still definitely support them in their endeavors, which is cool. I thought I grabbed. No, I guess not. The people that are just listening to, you have no idea. I'm just shuffling around.
Yeah.
That might be the only one I got of his. You gotta be careful. He also has a test step one. These have broken glass in them.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's just one of the
That's
features.
awesome.
Yeah, that's and then this law nomenclature has nails in it. You got a lot of
So what you're saying is you could be potentially harmed listening to this. So,
absolutely. An interesting thing too to point out is you'll see that Test Step. They released a Test Step live album on their label, which is relevant because the kind of the theme of law nomenclature next to like I guess gunshots as a theme they wanted to approach war and gunshots was the struggles of workers, especially in the steel industry, was like a big one for them, which would explain like they would bring steel on stage and like destroy it and pound it, which is similar to Test Step. It's industrial. That's kind of influenced and powered by the anger and mistreatment of workers and their struggles, which I think always makes for like the best industrial, especially like the music concrete stuff, which this one definitely was firmly into. So if you are into like that, like kind of the darkness and eeriness factor of like SPK, the realness, but also like the metal machine and factory sounds of Test Up, it's like that with like PE vocals and front and yeah, I'd say that's kind of like a little bit of the background I have to say about that album. And this came out in '84, which is pretty insane. That's something like
yeah.
this, something
Ye-
like proto rhythmic noise like this heavy came out in '84.
And it's kind of weird, like I think in one of the interviews that you sent me, he said something about considering himself like post-industrial and stuff. And the joke is anytime you put post in front of a genre, it just gets slower and more boring. And so like post-industrial is not a term I thought of while listening to this.
No.
I definitely had the like rhythmic noise feel, or even, he talks about they were heavily inspired by Front 242 and Neubauten. And I was like, yeah, this feels almost like it could be like the little brother of a Neubauten album or something.
Yeah.
Especially, I could be remembering wrong, but I want to say Drawings of Patient OT or something. Gosh, I'm fumbling my Neubauten reference. uh,
You're fumbling.
and Zeignunge des Passion
Mm.
OT. So, but yeah, that stuck in my head as like the same kind of musical themes run through this as through that.
Yeah, definitely. Because with that too, I was gonna say it also reminds me of like very early SPK, like information overload era, when they were like super raw, um,
hmm
and like I don't I don't explain it like a lot some industrial has like they're kind of like taking the shit out of it, like they're having fun, like even though it's very crazy and sporadic. Or as Marty Worm from his YouTube channel would say, the piss and vinegar, like they're having fun with it and being crazy and chaotic. But there's some industrial listen to, and it's like this is dark, like this is antagonistic, a lot of Death Industrial like has that feeling, like the A-Track sort of stuff. Like this is like dark, and I definitely get that with law nomenclature and like SBK. Like you have like you can have crazy quirky stuff like Selling Quinn like is dark, but they're still they're
hmm
just being fucking nuts. But like nomenclature is like I don't know, it's heavy.
Yeah, I mean, so, when you start creating something out of a prompt, like you take in whatever elements that prompt has as well, certain elements out of that. And so starting with like gunshot, war, and the workers struggle, like, yeah, you're
Yeah.
carrying a lot of heavy themes right from the get-go, and so
Yeah.
I think just even if they never said those words after the fact, like it still would show in their music. And yeah, so the early, like you talked about, the earlier sounds of like raw industrial or even stuff people are doing today that's like very minimalistic, very stripped down. Because I mean, we all could do like 100 track recordings for one song,
Yeah.
but it's when you strip it to the bare essentials to make the song that's it gives you something more powerful, something deeper and darker
Yeah.
to latch on to.
Yeah. And like when something is truly like raw and emotional, which this is, you definitely feel it. It's kind of like the difference between some industrial groups, they talk about like World War and themes and stuff, and it's like Ilsa, she wolf of the SS, and then some groups that talk about war, and it's like fucking come and see a total 180 and intensely
Yeah,
serious. Like,
yeah,
no, this isn't taking the piss out. This is like, you know. But I mean,
yeah.
but I mean, too, I don't want to be like, oh, this is like total stereotype. I mean, you could tell too they're going crazy on the stage too and doing the music concert. So obviously they're like into it and going crazy and fun, but there's still like a darkness to it, which is good. I'm just looking at the little J card, like slip of paper, and then yeah, the main guy you can see Tibucker. I apologize, sir.
Better say maybe. I don't
I'm
know.
so sorry. Tiburk Tiburk.
Hey, working.
I am I am
Tiburcy.
I am a silly Native American girl in America. I don't know French. You think my
I'm an Amerimut with a specialization in German, and so
I only know Japanese. Forgive me. um,
sumimasen.
yeah. Listen. Oh, I just realized. I think he recycled one of the J card papers.
Oh,
Included.
hey.
These are definitely made of love. I love them, although I do wish they were kind of in a standard. Like as fancy as are, they're just kind of hard to store because of
Yeah.
cases. But like it's cool. Like I said, you get some of them broken glass and nails, so you get that like I don't know, a lot of noise tapes, a lot of older stuff you'd get in like the post trade and tape trade. You just get like weird stuff with it.
Mm.
Um, I just got the smelling quim edition of the condom. It wasn't the bloody condom edition, but stuff like that.
I
So
don't know about this.
I'll show you after.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so that's like I said, a little bit background on that, and I guess we should we'll discuss some of the tracks and get into it and like what makes this album so special and like I said, why I think it's pretty indicative of just like the genre of its themes and its sound. Like this is like industrial, even though it does border on like power electronics. I think too with the vocals. It's
Mm.
kind of like that transition, a space that I really enjoy, where it's like in between, like it's got industrial sounds, but it also gets really heavy too. So like, you could definitely, if you want like a transitional album to go just like heavier stuff, like say you're listening to, like Test Step or New Mountain, and you want to get like okay, I'm interested in like getting something a little bit heavier. This something like this would be it. So yeah, we'll go. There's 9 tracks,
Hmm.
and I don't know why I raised 5 fingers.
There's 9 tracks.
um, and it starts. So it starts with track 1, which is called Overture, and it also shows something that they also are good at, which is like these dark ambient tracks, which some of their other albums have a bit more of it, but yeah, it starts with this like it's this kind of quiet. It approaches very quietly. This dark ambient track, very synthy, but it's ominous. Like I don't know any other word for it.
So yeah, so I'm gonna avoid using the word atmospheric.
This album is
But
very atmospheric.
you
Also,
say that about all the albums
real.
though.
And then keep going. I'll save that for the next
No,
track.
no, no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say real quick. I'm gonna be completely upfront. I don't understand any of the lyrics of this whole album. I can't even make out lyrics. I just make out voice and yelling and aggression. And I assume even if I can, they're in French.
Hmm.
So, but they do know English. They know English very well. I got stuff in English, but so I mean, they could be in English. I'm assuming it's French. Pretty sure it is, but I can't make anything out. But we'll get there when we get there. So, just wanted to put that up front. But this first track is just purely dark ambient, atmospheric.
Yeah. So I'll just put out. I know like un deux trois quatre like very 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 little French. So also same boat there. Uh, I don't see anywhere in my notes any particular words, so I don't feel like I could parse out any words, but like the vocals were recognizable, and we can touch on that in a moment because you actually gave me a piece of information today that kind of revealed, you know, what they did with the vocals.
Yeah,
But yeah, track one or overture. I've got my notes are interstitial synth notes, haunting hum from vocals, wrapped by mid-range rumbling. So like they really drew you in with this track, or drew me in anyways with this track because like so many people, love to hit the ground running. I'm one of those people.
yeah.
I always think about just Takemitsu from Merzbow, like
Oh
boom,
yeah,
you're going. Yeah.
absolutely.
So it's a very tricky thing, in my opinion, to start with a nice slow intro.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, they braved it out. It's 5 minutes of just this great,
it's just like bow, bow,
rapping.
bow, bow. Yeah,
Yeah.
like light like buzz hum. It also is really interesting. It's like it sounds like it's like off in the distance. Like
Mm,
I don't know. Like I always hate bringing this up. I talk about industrial, but like it's such an easy visualization, which is like Silent Hill, because it is. Sorry, it just is. It's this whole album feels very dark to like actual like you're in the dark, like the prison area
mm.
of Silent Hill too. Like your only scope of sound and hearing is like the light around you from like the flashlight, and it's just like wall of darkness. And there's like, or if you've ever been urban exploration, which is probably why I like industrial. They kind of, I don't know, go hand in hand.
Go
Urban
hand in hand.
urban
Yeah.
exploration is like the physical embodiment of industrial. But if you've ever been in like just exploring abandoned villages, especially factories and stuff, always like sounds like way off in the distance. Which I know I bring up a lot, but it's a good comparison. Like this definitely sounds like someone's playing this, but it's down the hall.
Oh
Like
yeah.
yeah, that's why it's very ominous. Like it's definitely drawing you in. And the other thing is too, this whole album just like abuses the shit out of the phaser. So you get that fucking the wind and whoosh, which I love. I mean, I love it in anything. Yeah,
Yeah, it if keeping up with giving like albums a physical setting in
yeah,
which you can think of I think Ramley we said was like a
wilderness, like
Hole in
out
the
in
Heart
north.
was like, yeah, you're out in the middle of nowhere in this like little isolated shack and
Yeah,
everything. And so this, I feel like you're in this big industrial complex, and as you're walking in, it's just you're slowly, getting attuned to all the rumbling and the different, sounds that come with like production and manufacturing and everything. And so, uh,
yeah, or
that
maybe
that
yeah. If you're like the steel worker coming in after hours, maybe it's like completely abandoned. You're just like
yeah.
that feeling like when you go to like a place like during the day, it's usually open, and you're at night, and you're like, because I grew up, my family would build carnivals, so like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
carnivals build rides, but they'd stick it all in a warehouse. When I was little, looking into the warehouse, because I used to, have to go like visit there, my parents work, was the scariest fucking thing ever. You could see all the rides. It's like it was pitch black in there. You could see like the ride, everything broken down inside. Um, so it's not like abandoned. It's just after work, but it's very it's very threatening.
It
Mm,
loses all the humanity because at least in every factory I've worked in or been in, after hours, like
yeah.
there's nothing organic in there. It's all
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
synthetic, lifeless, and geared for manufacturing. So, um, I get that feeling out of this. Like you're not supposed to be here. You're coming in.
Yeah.
You're getting attuned to everything, and like the spacing on the synth notes and just the use of the vocals, not as something to draw away from, but just sitting in with the rest of the
Yeah.
sounds is great. So.
Yeah, it's definitely like an open like overture definitely seems like an appropriate like title for it. Um and then it kind of like gently fades out in the track too, just like how it kind of gently fade in. And then
Mhm.
but it hits track 2, which is Ultima, and right away all of a sudden it like starts with these like music when I say music concrete, like they're actually like hitting steel and stuff for these sounds. So you actually hear like a boom, psh, boom, and then all of a sudden, so you get like these noisy metal like sounds. Like okay, like looking around, like someone's like kicking. Like and else you hear like so a lot of nomenclature has this very distinct like there's few voice styles, but this is a very distinct one that I don't even know how to describe it. It's like this warbly, screechy, I don't want to say cartoony, but it's like I don't know how to explain it. Like I was all day I
I
was trying
feel
to
like
think.
that's
I
accurate.
was trying to
Yeah.
think of like the word for it. Like it's very inhuman sounding. You hear it, which is what they wanted. In an interview, he said that they specifically wanted the vocals to be very distinct, that you knew it was this project, La Nomenclature. And I think that's true. I don't think there's any other group I've listened to that has these fucking weird, really intense, inhuman vocal, like, style or sample or effects they got going on. And then the clashing, the like you hear the screeching, the weird voice, and the clashing, and then just like it starts getting more distorted and buzzy, and then like it get like an actual rhythm going on the metal, like and like these tings and clashings, and like this weird synth that almost sounds like a voice, like moaning. I don't know how to explain it. It's like spinning around you. The sound.
So
It's like
yeah, I believe okay, so this it kicks off and it's got screeching that reminds me of electrical noises like the videos of people playing Tesla coils, like
yeah, yeah,
um, it then brings in like the whirring sounds of machines and the pounding pneumatics. In my notes, I have vocals distorted with some sort of LFO, giving them the cartoonish feel.
yeah.
And it's something being stretched and warped back and forth between long, short, fast, slow. So you actually revealed to me that they use a Ibanez M1000, I think it
Yeah,
was.
or 100, maybe 1000, I think.
It,
Did I write it
yeah,
down? I might have. I don't think I did. That would have been smart.
but but this is it's a rack mount delay processor, and so it's meant for basically just giving stuff an echo and for giving you like a more expansive sound. But because of the way this is mixed and what they were doing, at least their intent as apparent to us is they just basically fucking tuned everything up and down real fucking fast. And so yeah, this ups the pace, and then that delay processor it just yeah, it just gives them like a cartoonish, almost insanely fast feel, which lends to the feeling that you really shouldn't be in this place. Like, this isn't a
Yeah.
human place. and you're outside
No.
of human hours. So the more I talk about this, the more I realize like factories are eldritch abominations that scar the earth. But yeah,
They kind of are. uh, yeah, it's kind of like imagine like the people or the creatures in Jacob's Ladder, the way they fucking go like this, like they go really fast. Like if they were like making a sound, like what would they sound like if they were doing this really intensely? Like I don't like that's like my best interpretation of the voice because like it does like um in not so much this track but other tracks they do different kind of he does different effects on his voice, but this one appears a lot. It's just it's so I can't even explain it. It's very inhuman. It's like warbly and distorted and fast or crazy. Um, and just like fuzz, like you said, electrical. Like this whole track, like I said, it sounds like they're hitting like it's almost like this intense triangle sound in it, but also like heavy like tin cans too going on and trash cans and metal. Like we got all kinds of different metal going on. Like I said, this like weird breathy moany synth and just like this pounding. It's great and like the pounding. It's the actual like drum and rhythm itself. It's a bit like minimal, but there's so much
hmm
stuff going on that it like feels intense.
Oh yeah.
And that
And the production on this, like if you told me this was recorded in a fucking factory, like or a warehouse or somewhere that it's just surrounded by cement and they used one microphone for fucking everything, like I would totally believe it because everything on here sounds thin except when they want to hit you with like that
yeah.
nice solid wall of sound. And so it's kind of mysterious to me how they managed to pull that off, unless they just did some overdubbing. But it really helps get you into that mindset of like this is a fucking like
It's threatening.
scrap metal band.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
scrap. You're like what is that?
yeah.
All right. That and the second track is very indicative of like what you're gonna get here. And so let's go into track 3, which is probably my favorite track, Ensure Postmortem. And it's probably one of my favorite just like power electronic industrial track ever. It's one I will post pretty often if people are like looking for like Rex, because most people don't know this group, so I'm usually okay with posting that. If people just straight up want heavier Rex, this is usually one of my go tos. Is this track? Um, and it's just like the way it starts off. It's got a little like little synth, and then it just goes, and then this track, and then it goes into a different kind of style vocal, which is a bit more traditional of power electronic vocal, but it goes off the fucking wall because like he'll start yelling and saying stuff, but then like his voice will trail off into the synth or the effects, which happens a lot
hmm
in this album, which they do really well. Which is yeah, every time a vocal ends, it usually like goes right into like some fucking crazy effect or synth. That's
Oh
like
yeah.
what happens. So like he'll say something and then it'll get like reverb. It's like there's this parts that he goes like, and then he goes just fucking like what is happening? Like you're falling down an elevator shaft while this like pounding motion stuff's going on.
Yeah, that's something that I love in like specifically like hardstyle and hardcore dance music is when they take a sample or a vocal and then they, just let it go like a certain part and then they re-trigger the sound so many times and then they just pull a synth out of that sound. And so this is like the primitive version of that because
Yeah.
um in my notes, I've got it's some electric sounds, more rhythmic beat, delay and echo on the vocals, and feeling a raw metal against sealed drum barrels. And so uh, maybe that's steel. I have chicken scratch, but yeah, they kick the energy up on this, and you really should listen to this with like a bass booster to give it even more power to it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Uh, because I listen to all of these albums through like flat EQ, so I never hear the full potential. But for this track, I actually did go back and like boost
Nice.
it. Um, but yeah, they really did go fucking insane with the vocals on this, which again just adds to the cartoony feel of this,
Yeah.
like you really shouldn't be like, maybe this isn't so much a album recommendation as like a album forbiddance, like like sounds humans shouldn't be hearing or
Yeah.
conducting, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It's a pure like aggression in music form, but not. It's not like a bravado like aggression or over the top or something like that. It's just like raw pains aggression.
Yeah.
That's the thing too with the vocals too. They sound like they're half like kind of angry and threatening, or like they're just trying to like tell you something aggressively, but they sound like pain too. Like Tibiker is like this kind of pain's voice, like he's getting stabbed too, or just like he's got stabbed and like the pure adrenaline's got him going.
Yeah.
This angry like I don't know what it is too. When I listen to this album, I feel like I'm like I'm spinning. Like it sounds like the music's like spinning around me in the sound. I can't really explain it. Maybe it's just the way the rhythm is, but like everything's blurry around me because it's just so like fast and intense. Maybe I think,
Yeah,
but
I
not
feel
not.
like the oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so not. I haven't really feel that with like many other albums. I can't really explain it.
I feel like it's the so as far as I can hear the pounding of the drums is very centered, and so I feel like the delay echo on the vocals helps with that spinning sensation,
Yeah.
which it's really great whenever an artist can achieve, imparting a physical sensation upon you. So, you've got the drums giving you the center, like you should be paying attention to us, but then with the vocals and that crazy synth,
Yeah.
which it just creates this disorienting sound. So if you listen with your eyes closed, especially, or listen
Yeah.
in the dark while you're doing stuff, you're gonna get like disoriented,
Yes.
almost guaranteed. So
Absolutely. Plus, too, whenever I just like, even now I'm talking about it, visualizing in my mind, I'm just like in the center of like a pitch black, like lights off factory with just like the flashlight. I don't know. Like, that's what I'm seeing. uh, yeah, and like I said earlier, this track does that thing too where you get all this like layers of intensity, then it'll just drop like the singer like boom, and then like it'll go back
um,
into it, and it's just like holy shit, like you weren't ready for that. It just drops you lets the beat drop, like a laser sound, and then back into it. Like it throws you around. I should say that's
mhm.
this track like throws you around. Um, so that yeah, that is like the third track. Ensure postmortem. That's this is definitely an album like you have to definitely listen to experience. Like some tracks you can kind of explain what's going on and say the themes, but these are such this album is definitely a feeling rhythm driven album. Even though there is vocals, I mean, I don't know. They're kind of they're just part of the sound really in the layers because they just sound very inhuman even when it's like clear.
So this is like a quick psychological phenomenon. Side note is so I'm sure everyone knows that song "Pumped Up Kicks" that was popular, and it's about like a school shooting or whatever. And so there's a difference between, like, at least in my opinion, there's a difference between like us, where one, we don't know this particular language, and two, the mixing is such that the vocals serve as a accentuating layer, and then uh, the differences between those things versus there's an actual phenomenon where people don't recognize vocals in a song. Like if they were singing in English or German or maybe even Japanese,
I think I've heard of
uh,
that.
yeah, or Spanish, like I feel like I could pick things out, even like regardless of the mixing, I could probably pick things out, or we could pick those things out based off of
Yeah.
like the amount we know.
Like if I
But
tried, you know.
yeah, versus like, hey, I have this condition, or I'm psychologically not able to discern vocals, so yeah, like but the vocals are mixed in to serve the songs versus the songs are mixed to
Yeah.
serve the vocals. So
Whether they intended them to be understood or not, they're definitely part of the mix. And I don't want to assume. There's a part of me that feels like maybe they weren't, especially the really affected ones, weren't meant to be fully understood. Really, just pure aggression, pain aggression, and just part of like the sound. Like if this album was like the themes of the struggles of the working class, that maybe the fact that these vocals are blending into the machine sounds and factory sounds is like part of that message because it's true. They become one. The shared pain and sound, flesh and metal, not the good kind. This isn't the erotic kind. We got some albums for that though. That'll become the future. this is the this isn't the want to have sex machine style of industrial. This is the scared by machine industrial, which is the spectrum of the genre. I'm not even kidding. Like, it really is. But yeah, that's third track. And then
yes.
it gets a bit more aggressive from here with the fourth track, which is
Hmm.
Arth, which the noise gets like the actual like noise like noise music actually starts appearing like walls of noise, and it gets way more intense. There's even like way down the mix there's almost like dark ambient, and then there's like a layer of noise, and then there's just synths and like little metal clings all over. It's still super rhythmic, and the voice, this is another style of like voice where I don't know how they achieve this, but it sounds like they're talking into like a tube. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
This is like the tubular voice. I don't know. Actually, when I think of law nomenclature, this is kind of the voice I think of. It's like this huffy, like I don't know. Have you ever picked up a big giant cardboard tube or a PVC pipe and like talked into it because you're a child like me? Woo woo woo. Like, do I even have anything right here to do? Like, that's what it sounds like to me. It does, but it's like it's not funny. It's like it's menace. It's creepy.
Yeah, like you're trapped in a confined space and you're, just
Yeah,
trying to tell people how to, get you out.
yeah.
So yeah, this takes a drastic step out of the like almost tribal or rhythmic dance
Yeah,
feel that we had.
the past was just kind of like rhythmic noise industrial P vocals. This is like almost death industrial over here.
Yeah, this track immediately sets itself apart from the other three before it because it's a crashing, grinding sound, and then the vocals are filtered to hit quickly, and they still have that little bit of echo on them, which I'm guessing what they did is they turned the dry versions all the way. So they either turned the dry all the way down on the Ibanez and then uh turned like the echo effect almost all the way up, and so that's why you're hearing it
Uh
like it's so far removed, or they straight up just found a pipe and were singing through that.
it's so hard to tell because like Jean-Yves said is like he's even used his own body as like a like a sound box, like putting lights
Yeah.
on and like pounding himself and hurt himself and all that, and like they've done crazy shit. So like that's like it's so hard to tell what is like them just actually using this stuff or like what is just effects. It's probably both, somewhere in between for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was probably, well, I mean, still now it's like my favorite part of noise and like maybe up and coming industrial artists is when they're just using anything at their disposal.
Yeah.
And so, like I love Moby and Trent and everything. You know, you can sample anything, and it's even better if you can sample it yourself. But when you're just like, okay, we're gonna grab a shopping cart and some chains, and we're gonna, run them up and down, and that's gonna be the
Yeah.
rhythmic section of our track.
That's the way it should be.
Like, yeah. Like that just gives it this whole other layer, and so I feel like that's what we're getting out of them here.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's still crunchy, it's still grating, and it's still somewhat painful to listen to, honestly.
Yeah, this is music to be electrocuted to.
Yes, yeah, very apt
Uh,
description.
or sledgehammer to like is both. uh, yeah, there's not too much to say about the track. I mean, it's great, but this is when the album starts taking a turning point where it just starts actually becoming more of like a noise-ish album. I mean, not like pure like, oh, this is noise, harsh noise. We're not going like incapacitants over here or anything, but like very heavy industrial. So probably a little more in like the death industrial category. Is like the second half of the album. I'd say we switch over. This would be the second half of the album because track 5 is Overture 2.
Woo.
Two, which is the same as the first overture, the first track, but it's just kind of median for the whole album. So you're kind of
Mhm.
like, what's happening now? So you know it's not over yet. There's more to come. And these these last 4 tracks after Overture 2 are pretty insane. Like they get really intense. The tail end of the album. This is when we start combining all the different vocal styles and like all the buzzy sounds and layers. It's like just very chaotic tracks. So track 6 is called Marif D.D. Very interesting tracks. I don't know the lore for them. Maybe Jean-Yves
Yeah.
can let me know. They have a lot of like interviews and stuff written of them. That they're super nice. They're very talkative. I just been so busy I didn't get a chance to ask them any more questions, but like I said, I'll link their Discogs where they sell stuff for the label does, and you could probably message him too and ask stuff. I'm sure they want to talk and all that jazz. Talk about their music.
They want you to have their music and their knowledge. So,
Yes, which I always like. I feel like a lot of older artists of the scene and genre kind of like disavow a lot of stuff, or they don't want to be around the scene or not proud of it. I
yeah.
mean, there's a lot of stuff I can understand about that, but a lot of them it's just like, about it. But there's a lot of artists like him and others that are still like in it and they still enjoy it and they're still happy with it, and it's like I don't know, it's a lot. It's a really good, nice feeling to be able to talk to them and share that knowledge. People like Jean-Yves or like Allegory Chapel. He's definitely got all the knowledge and he'll talk to you. Or I read.
Arden Atkins.
Yeah, no, not Martin Atkins. He's just a poopy head. uh, but I mean, to be fair, yeah, he's someone you could probably talk to. He'll talk to you about like stuff they've been through in history and stuff, which is cool. Zero comma Zoe, she's very like loves talking about stuff in the post-industrial scene, which is nice. So yeah, enough of that tangent. But yeah, track 6, Meredith D. This one has some really intense like
Oh yeah.
combinations of the vocal. Like this is a very raw track. This is the most raw track we've gotten so far. It's
This I think this might be my favorite track on the album. I normally put a mark for those, but
yeah.
yeah, I real quick want to jump and say I appreciate them giving us Overture 2 because when it comes to album structuring, like you need that breather,
Yes. Yeah.
and so it's like a nice quiet track, just let your heart rate slow down, and then this fucking kicks you into overdrive.
It
It's got
does.
faster percussion, more aggressive vocals. Oh, okay, here's my favorite mark. Yeah, it's renewed energy and it's just fucking angry as shit. I
Yeah.
like.
Like the other tracks might have had more like a warning, like stay away or kind of vibe to them. or like what's off in the distance. This is like, you're here and it's threatening and it's pissed off. Like this is like progressively just become more like as the track keeps going too, which is unusual for the other tracks. Like his voice gets more angry and angry and louder and
Hmm.
aggressiver. It's progressively angrier, and actually the synths and stuff. The music itself's a bit more minimal in this track too. It's kind of just like pure aggressive vocals, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, I can always tell that it's like this track because sometimes when I've listened to albums, I listen to 100 times, I will like zone out, but I
Hmm.
always know it's this track because it's just like, god damn.
Yeah,
uh,
I intently listen to an album and then I'll listen to it a few more times as we're leading up to the review. And so like anytime this track came on, like I had to just stop and like
yeah,
head bob or just
yeah,
appreciate it in a different way, pay it some sort of respect. So
yeah,
yeah, it sounds like he's overloading his voice and the, processing units for the like it's all so over the top and extra.
yes,
I kind of I kind of want to like give it a refresh treatment just to see what it would sound like, push through with like modern effects and everything
that would be
because it
interesting.
yeah, it's so driving, it's so hardcore, and it's so angry that I feel
Yeah,
like it's limited in how it was captured. This is definitely one of those things that transcends its era. I feel like that's too grandiose of a statement, but I'll go ahead and make it as like this track transcends mid 80s industrial music. So,
yeah. This is like some early 2000s, like Urashima, like Italian death industrial, or even maybe something like Susan Lawley, like that era power electronics, White House in the prime, Sutcliffe
yeah.
even, like Sutcliffe even, just like the way he's angry and just more and more like progressively angry in the track, just fucking raw, like yeah, uh,
We've never seen levels of this anger before.
yeah, it's and like I said, it's not because some EP does like that I don't know that like shitty like bravado and male like aggression kind of sound and power electronics. That's not the kind of anger this is. This is just like this person's having like a breakdown and like don't go near them or it's too late to come near you. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
total like stay away.
This is a systemic failure of the machinery in the factory.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, yeah, that was track 6, Meredith D, and now we're
Yeah,
on
yeah.
track 7, which keeps with the super intensity. This one's less vocal intensity, and this one's more of probably like the pure and like almost noise wall. No, not noise wall, but like noise track. This track 7 is Encare, and
Hmm.
yeah, this one is just like really intense noise. This is like the noise track. There's just like tons of layers, wall of sounds. There are vocals in there, but they're like so down the mix. And this track is like, it almost feels like it was purposely mixed like really dirty, like dirtily.
Yeah,
This is a
oh,
very
definitely.
like, this track is, I don't know, it's fucked up. It's Vito. Yeah, this one, like I said, probably has the least amount of vocals, but it's just like intense electrocution, totally. So if you like noise, yeah, this is the track. There, this would be the noise track.
Yeah, this is the standout noise track. I agree with you on that. It's slowed, the clanging is prominent. I've got animalistic with filtering of different frequencies and a bunch of effects on vocals. So like it just came together and it's
Yeah,
almost a harsh noise wall, like
yeah.
just a few steps
Just
away from it.
yeah, for sure. That's what I think. That's almost exactly what I wrote too. Like almost, yeah. It says some borderline noise wall in the background. Sounds like it's in a cave. So the warbly vocals are back, but they're pushed way down the
Warbly
mix.
vocals.
I wrote very very dirty mix.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, it just sounded like Live from the sewers. This is the shit Nemesis is listening to.
I immediately pictured Borg Captain Picard like bobbing his head
Yeah.
to this, like, yeah,
He
yeah,
would.
this is my jam.
That would be his jam. Actually, yeah, Nemesis, like Resident Evil Nemesis, he's more like a Fear Factory type of guy. You could tell.
Yeah, like it's the guitars, man.
Yeah.
Like,
So
right.
yeah, yeah, track 7 on Care. So we went from like, Overture 2 happens, then Meredith D, and it's like now this is really aggressive raw. And then 7 kind of strips the vocals a little bit, but then it's just like, oh, well, here's noise.
Yeah,
And then,
here you go. Nice healthy dose of unrelenting
yeah,
noise.
which is Meredith B.
Hmm.
And the track kind of starts with that thing it does where we get some vocals, but they start turning into a rhythm, or the rhythm and the vocals like really blend into each other. It's kind of hard to tell like where one starts and one ends. And then that kind of turns into like this weird like boom boom dark ambient synth. And then like the old metal rhythmic sounds from when the album comes back, but the noise from the previous track comes back. So you like kind of the energy of like the front and back, the A and B side of the album like come together on this track. And then the like at the very end of the track, probably the most pissed off of the vocals of the entire album, like end, or it's just like he just like fucking yells into that tube.
So yeah, I've got a lot of notes for this one.
Yeah,
So
let's
okay,
go.
so Meredith D, like my favorite track, stand out, blah blah blah, great. This one though, I feel like has a lot of potential. Like if there's any DJs or producers or whatever listening, or a DJ or producer, which let's be honest, you're here, you probably do.
Yeah.
Um, like this has potential to be like an underground dance hit because
Yeah.
it starts with subdued vocals as a percussive element, and then it
Yes.
kicks into whirring again before a pulsating beat takes over. Mostly the beat sits in the mid range and pans from channel to channel that helps to engage the listener. But I feel like if you just boost the mid on this and maybe even just let the like what do they call it when you switch put the track over itself, so overdub it and then reverse the polarity or
Mm.
switch the stereo, that way it's just all around you driving beat. And
We
so
could turn
yeah,
this
this
into a
and
breakcore.
yeah, oh god, I want to mess with this album because this is not only is it good source material, there's a
Yeah.
lot of like potential in all the tracks. So maybe I'll hit up Sean after this for
Yeah.
stems.
Um,
I don't know,
well,
but hey, adding to like its potential is this is the first I can recall of like the entire album where they use clap samples.
yes, they do. There are samples in this album. They're kind of hard to make out unless you really pay attention, but you'd probably pick out these ones even on your first
Like,
listen. Yeah.
yeah,
You're like, what?
yeah, like they got a drum machine. They could afford a drum machine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, D is my favorite track. Okay, my favorite. But I've got here in my notes. This is my last line. Production wise and sonically, this is probably the best track on the album.
Yes, like it could be um a good introduction to the album too, because this one, yeah, it's very rhythmic. Like say you're someone coming from that, like maybe you know Anson or you know rhythmic noise or tribal or whatever. Meredith B, this would be the track for you to like be like, oh okay, to check it out. It's crazy. It's true. It does have a lot of potential. It's like perfectly mixed of every element of the album together, and like especially this track specifically. has like the blended vocals, but they're turned into like the rhythm of the track, which is really interesting. Like you hear it right from the get go, like the way the vocals turn into the rhythm. Um, yeah, it does. I agree. It has a lot of potential. You could definitely do some crazy stuff with this. Proto
Yeah.
breakcore, maybe. I don't know.
Hey, if you're listening, you've got a doll or a sampler, like go to town. Come on, we're
Yeah,
encouraging
let's
it.
go.
So
They should.
let's
Well, I know they, officially ended the project in 2013. They wanted to. They're done with. They're ready on their terms, but uh, they should open up to a remix album. Let's go.
Oh yeah.
The potential.
Attention.
I'll get a bunch of people on it. Let's go.
Dude, yeah, come on. Come on, we got this.
uh, and then we go into the final track 9, which is Extreme.o. Um,
Extremo, I
Extreme
guess.
Orgasmo.
Yeah, get
um,
Italian with it.
I just wrote phaser abuse on this one. You definitely hear it going off this one. But it's great. I love it. This one specifically, this track is interesting as a final track because it starts with this kind of unique synth sound we haven't heard throughout the whole album. Like they had like a distinct kind of melody or like chord like they were playing around with for this track. That kind of, I mean, it still belongs. It sounds like the album, but it's distinct. Like you definitely couldn't mistake this one for the other tracks. It's like a dun dun doon. I don't even know. I wrote that. I wrote dun dun
Dun, dun.
doon. uh, this track is very buzzy. I don't know if it's the buzziest track. It's at least one of them. Like it's totally I don't know, like white noise buzzy. You've plugged in
Yeah,
you're not ground your record player's not grounded sound going on, which is like this whole album, by the way.
yeah.
This album is not grounded. That is the best thing I can say.
You
This
need those special, pure gold fucking power
Yeah.
cables to properly ground
This
and
does
a
not have
direct
that.
feed. Yeah.
This is not even close to the earth. This whole album is loud. This one definitely you hear it really well, and it almost there's like a sound too in this track that almost sounds like a engine, like a diesel engine, like
Mm.
all the way in the background, like just sitting idly. It reminds me when I was growing up, my mom had a special hospital bed that had to keep inflated, so if the power went out, we'd have to put on this generator. We had like this,
Shit.
but our generator got stolen, so we got stuck with this old like gasoline hand crank one. And you pull it, and it's fucking loud. It's so loud. I'm sure the whole neighborhood heard it. There's no way they didn't.
Uh,
That's what it reminds me.
I don't know if I mentioned it, but back on Earth at the end, it sounds like a train speeding away, and so I'm wondering if maybe whatever gave that like train-ish sound is
Mm.
also used here to give it that sort of like you're calling a generator type sound or
Yeah.
that like diesel or gasoline engine, that percussive engine sound.
That's
So
interesting. I don't think I've noticed like a train sound at the end of Arth. It's that's interesting you bring that up. I mean, I'm sure there is. There's so many like some tracks like they feel a bit minimal, but there's still like a ton of layers going on and little sounds,
mhm.
and even in between there's like little like tings and booms and just stuff that's probably getting covered up by like the buzzing.
Oh
Because this
yeah.
tape's not grounded.
They mix this on 10,000 voltage fucking mixer or something. Like,
uh,
no, the feedback's great. Leave it in.
this track too, being the final track, probably has the most clearest vocals. Like if we were gonna figure out what vocals sound like, it's probably this one. And
Yeah.
it's mixed really weird. Where like, for once, his vocals are like almost at the top of the mix, like they're forefront for like a few seconds. You're like, whoa! Like you think like your player went up for a few volumes or something for a second.
Hmm.
It's a few moments like that on the tape where the mixing is interesting, where it just like is low and then jumps up at you. Some of them I don't know if they're intentional, but this one is very interesting because it's just like, wow, these vocals just pop right at you. They're not like down in it.
Kind of like a cloud. They were way up high, huh?
Yeah.
So yeah, they use the pads more prominently here than the last three or so tracks, but yeah, the vocals are put over it, so it almost feels like the song serving the vocals more. Um, God, I wish I knew any French because maybe he's saying something and that's why they're clear, you know? But yeah, I even have like you said, it's a new synth sound. I called it the
Yeah.
new electric sound. So
Yeah.
maybe they're electrocuting some other guy or
Yeah.
something
Someone's
with a different
electrocuted.
taser. Yeah, this
Sometimes
is the electrocution album. You're right.
sometimes late at night I'll post the song and I'll be like, "Who up vibrating?" Because you know I'm up vibrating. But this is an album to like, "Who up being electrocuted?" This is beyond vibrating.
You must vibrate
Yeah,
higher. Like,
exactly.
yeah.
This album would do it. I would say
Oh yeah.
it's I yeah, and then um yeah, this track like kind of ends well, just kind of like crashes all at once, boom, like the synth and the voice. A few tracks do that, which I really like. This album is like some of the tracks end with like all for like the last second, all the noise is stripped out. It's just his voice, and then like it ends just like a solid like cut. Like it's I don't know, it's very effective.
But and then adding to like the cartoony element after everything cuts out and it's pretty much end. They go bow bow bow,
Yeah, yeah, they do.
and I'm like I
It's
don't have it
true.
wrote down, but now I'm thinking like, is this kind of like a Looney Tunes thing? Like I don't know if Looney Tunes were
That's what he
known.
sounds like. That's it. It's like the Tasmanian Devil kind of.
Oh my God,
Yes, that's kind of what it sounds like.
you cracked the
I,
code.
I cracked the code. But like more, industrial and threatening. But
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's like some like Tasmanian devil voice for real. And I hope they don't. I hope they don't find offense to that. Cartoon is just like the word. Or the I can't even come up with like an idea because it's so inhuman and warbly and intense. This vocal.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's just a good adjective. Like none
Yeah.
of this detracts from the album. This
No.
is what gives it unique
Oh yeah.
character, you know, because like when the first Agrotech guys figured out that you could use that guitar processor, everyone used it
Yeah.
from Alien Vampires to like God Module, like everyone used that same processor, you know? So
Yeah.
like he's using a fucking delay and it's as far as I know, it was a common delay thing, but he's like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna fucking abuse the shit out of the knobs.
Yeah. They purposely set out to do very distinct vocals, and they did. And I listened to a lot of this stuff, and I can't say I've encountered anything like this. I've encountered like kind of the sound and feeling on this label in like French industrial, because a lot of French industrial tends to do the more musique concrète or actual sounds. Like they actually use real metal for percussion and all kinds of stuff. They're crazy for that, but not these style of vocals. Tibiker has him and Jean-Yves got their thing going on. They've captured something. There's like a few distinct vocal styles in this, and they all work well. And it's very unique. The pipe one, the warbly one, all of it. I have not heard something like this. Like you definitely know that you're listening to it. Um, and they have quite a few albums. Some of them are a bit more dark, ambient, tinged, but they're still wicked good. And they still
Hmm.
have some of these vocals. They still like go hard. Like trust me, and I say if you want it to go hard, especially power electronics and really noise. This is it. This is for you.
this is the track, or
Yeah,
this is the album. Yeah.
and yeah, it's still crazy. Like I know all kinds of stuff, is coming out in like the '80s. Like I mostly listen to old school industrial noise stuff, but it's still crazy because it sounds like late '90s, like death industrial stuff. But this is like
Hmm.
'84. They really knew what they were doing. Even the precursor project he was in, the Minamata, which I do have, yeah, that tape for. Um, that was like really heavy raw noise stuff that sounded almost more Italian than, like French industrial. So they know what they're doing. This album goes hard. One of my all-time favorites. I don't know. You can't get. I don't think you can get more like literal industrial than this album. This is definitely up there because some people are like, "Nah, I want to listen to actual like machines and stuff," like me and those people. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
don't worry, I got you covered. We got like La Nomenclature. We got fucking Esplendor Geometrico. Don't worry, there's stuff that's they're literally using machines for. Don't worry, we got you.
It's like, yeah, no worries at all.
And
Short of short of going to like a construction site and just listening to, the
exactly.
pneumatics and like the heavy equipment and stuff. This is as close as you can get to like a factory experience, in my opinion. So,
Short of fucking around with the outdoor outlet that's really sketchy and getting yelled at by your dad, this is what it's like. That I trust me, that is not from experience. I wouldn't know that at all. Just be careful.
totally not. Don't
uh,
stick, forks in
ugh.
outlets, please. So,
No, I'm still nervous about like outdoor outlets because we had a tricky one. They always are sketchy to me.
oh yeah.
Yeah, plugged one in once and I got minorly electrocuted, which is like the strangest sensation. It was like
That's
my arm couldn't like uncontrollably like vibrate. It was weird. I didn't really feel
Mhm.
pain because I was able to let go quickly, but it
Oh,
was.
so yeah, it was
I think a wire was. I
like
don't know what it was. I put something in the outlet. It was like my dad fixes vintage fans, so I had a vintage fan going in the outdoor outlet, and I don't know what happened. It was weird. One of the weirdest sensations. I hope it never
a little
happens again.
numbness.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hopefully never again.
yeah. But if I listen to this album, I can feel that with the yelling too.
Ah, it's the good old dad experience.
No.
So yeah, yeah, it was my album overview is this is a exemplary statement to what can be done, which is just minimal sounds.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you could call it minimalist industrial, and perhaps it's got that prime factory feel.
Yeah.
Um, Everything about it lends itself to like having been made on a production line or in a refinery or something to
Yes.
that effect. And like I'm pretty sure, like we keep talking about being electrocuted. Pretty sure they had some exposed wire or
it
something, and that's how they made the synth.
Yeah, I'm not even
So,
exaggerating because the sound, like, it legit, like, sounds like there's, like, some heavy hum in this, which is great. You can hear it, and maybe they, like, played it there, sampled it, but there's some humming, and it's good. And I
hmm.
legitimately wonder if they recorded this in, like, some kind of factory, or, like, cement building, like, legitimately. I should have asked them that. Maybe I'll ask. Like, I am genuinely curious how they recorded it and where, and I would literally not be surprised if it was, like, in some weird building or abandoned building. Like, it sounds like it. With some broken wire, so is why there's something going on.
Yeah, we found an exposed wire and just set up the recorder right next to it, and that's what powered it. So.
uh, but make no mistake, these are people who know their craft, who passion, know the sound they want to make. This is a very well made album, and it's so interesting that like you get the sensation that it could be minimal industrial, and yet has all these layers. It's so hard to explain. Um,
Yeah.
it's like
And the mixing really helps with that though, because
yeah,
they make it's narrow from the get-go, but they widen it and narrow it in a very natural way, and so you don't feel overwhelmed until they want you to feel overwhelmed.
Yeah, exactly. They definitely have control. Like everything's set.
Yeah.
Like there's moments where it sound very chaotic, but they're definitely in control of the sound. They know what they want. They know where they want to take you, which is pretty cool and kind of rare for albums that get noisy as this one too. A lot of
Hmm.
controlled noise. Very interesting. um, so yeah, I think that's what we have to say about this little taper amazing CD. And even though it's a little bit, because it's definitely an obscure album, it shouldn't be too hard to get. And like I said, he sells it on Discogs, and I think the CD is probably not so hard to find either. I mean, obviously it's on Soulseek, but
Everything should be. Yeah.
yeah.
Scaramucci. Yeah.
But oh god, I hate that guy. That's a whole nother rant. Can't if I find out who that person. If you're watching this, I'm gonna eat your inner. I hate you. Like I hate you. Anyway, um, but yeah, like I said, I'll link this. It shouldn't the tape or the CD shouldn't be too hard to find on Discogs. Definitely worth a listen. And I know some like his project, the uh,
NKT was it?
uh,
Or
NKT is what I think it goes by in modern. Like if you bring it up any modern law nomenclature stuff, it's NKT. But his project, Jean-Yves project, the Scent de Solitude, he's put his stuff out as on certain band camps, and like he said, he's trying to put out older stuff. So just give it time to, just help support him too. Maybe it'll help with that. So it's definitely not lost. And I think I want it to find a resurgence because, with the unassuming cover and just like not people knowing about it, they're definitely missing out. Like you ever go to like a CD record store and you're like, I always think this all the time, like what am I missing out on? So I'm just not,
yeah.
getting it 'cause I don't know what it is, or I don't know the label, or like the art. I'm just like, what is that?
Yeah.
uh, but this is one of those ones like you would be missing. Like if you're a fan of this stuff, you would be missing out totally if you did not check this out to listen to. It's crazy that CD was sitting there for so long. They have no idea
Yeah, dude.
like the powerhouse that was here. Like you didn't even like
Yeah.
you had no idea, and then you're like, what the like?
Like I when I saw the Discogs page, I was like, why is this sticking out in my memory? And then I go to, like I said, this record store has moved like 7 times in the last 20 years, and so I go to its newest location, which is small as hell, and sure enough, in their tiny little industrial section that has like
That's
12
crazy.
CDs total, it's sitting there, and I'm like, I
No
saw
fucking way.
this as a teenager, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna listen to Nine Inch Nails again. So
And then you're like, holy shit. Can you imagine if your younger self heard that?
yeah, like whole different path, like, like butterfly effect, right? I mean,
I don't even remember how I found this. You know, years ago, different life situation. I probably just when I was still in school for phlebotomy, I had a bit more time to just like kind of listen to more music, and I would just go down rabbit hole. That's all I did. I would just like go through music. I probably saw the album cover, and
Mhm.
honestly, when you have hundreds of like stuff written down, notebooks to check out, backlogs, you do just decide what to
Oh
listen to
yeah,
by the cover, like the genre cover, and you're like, yeah, that's cool. I'm gonna check it out. And
it's
I
like,
saw the
oh okay,
cover, and it's like, cause there's a few tracks up on YouTube. Someone's been
hmm
uploading more tracks too of their different albums. So if you go on YouTube now, like a lot of Nomenclature, you'll find some. I just saw it and I was like, holy shit, this is exactly what I want. This is.
yeah.
um,
Well, and sometimes like at least in my experience, sometimes the algorithm does bless you because like Spotify will put you into loops and it's a little dangerous. It'll
yeah,
show you cool stuff, but it's a little dangerous because you could listen to the same like 200 songs forever.
yeah.
But YouTube, like, God, my favorite example of like showing me weird shit that I didn't know I loved was like there was a Donkey Kong soundtrack song with it's like twisting vines as an animation, and people in the comments, it had like less than 50,000 views, and people in the comments are like, this is main character of the world check-in, like drop your life story below
Oh
and
yeah,
shit.
the checkpoint stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
that's
But
actually like
yeah,
a YouTube thing.
oh, deep
Yeah,
YouTube lore,
it
huh?
is. It actually is like the checkpoints. There's a good YouTuber called Still in the Night Owl. And
Oh, okay.
he makes these big long iceberg videos, and he made a really
Yeah.
in depth YouTube one, and like there's actually a whole discussion about the
Oh
checkpoints.
shit. I will check that out.
Yeah,
So I actually have, you talked about you got like logs of notebooks and
I
everything.
do.
I've got a notepad that I started about 10 years ago on my phone that is stuff to check out.
Yeah, just I like physical Rex. I get all these books to check out. Actually, I
Oh yeah.
got the Ramla one on my
Oh
trip.
fuck yeah.
Uh, but yeah, before we start going on another tangent or whatever, so don't want to make this like 100 hours long. Yeah, check this out. This album, it's loud, it's buzzy. This is power electronics done well. Noise mix like the mixture of noise, industrial power electronics done really well. French industrial done well. If you like that actual just creepy, dark, intense machinery sound, this is it. This is your industrial album, and I wish more people knew about it. So don't be that kid walking by on this. Well, it's their fault for making a crappy cover. Sorry, Anson, but don't be that kid walking, seeing that album, and you're like, oh, what is that? Check it out. So yeah. So thank you everybody for waiting. We're just busy people while we're figuring it out, and we'll just keep suggesting crazy stuff, and come in next
Yeah.
time, the next episode of Dragon Ball P. Alright, so yeah, thank you for watching. Look a bunch of stuff down below. Check out Noeyesfiend's new stuff. uh,
And remember, subscribe to this machine's shit.
yeah,
Holy.
that too. Alright. Alright, so we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
See ya.